Yes, they're here.
Right there? Okay.
Okay, I'm going to call Personnel and Human Services to order at 6:49. I have Peter and Frank is the third on the committee this evening. I did receive, I started passing that way, I'll pass this way. Council Creeper, if you don't mind taking one and passing it down. The last week we spoke about, this is specifically about Angel Park. We've already voted the motion. There is no motion this evening. However, I will read, when I read it in at the full council meeting, I will read the revised amounts that you have before you tonight. You can see the amounts. I did ask the mayor to come in tonight and address any concerns you all had. The mayor is here. Thank you, Mayor, and you're free to come on up and give us an overview of the project, how you sort of came up to this amount, and any questions anybody might have.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilor Cooper, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to address you on this project. Per the original work that's been done on the project, I've listened to your concerns, and I know that Gary and Lance and Dennis have been of a great help on this project to be able to revitalize a piece of city property in a neighborhood that truly needs it. I'm sure some of you have actually made it out there if you've actually gone to the site and seen the area. We've cut down pretty much half of the trees over the past several years due to the fact that they're diseased. The lot needs a lot of work. It's very difficult to rejuvenate a lawn when you don't have the resources available to be able to maintain it. So, you know, part of this whole rehabilitation project is to redo the whole park in the same type of fitting area that we did over on the east side with the Briggs Playground. That was part of the original design that we had put forth for here. But listening to the concerns that the council had and the feedback that was given, and working with the departments and said, you know what, let's just do a simple swing set here. But let's also pay homage to Lieutenant Angel and the memorial that's here, and to be able to create a fitting piece of city property that's in a neighborhood that can be able to utilize this. It's also a gateway, certainly, to the downtown, and that the city has been working on a long-term improvement project, which we just finished half of it. We talk about connectedness. We have been working over a period of 3 years on just redoing all the granite curbing and sidewalks on Emery Street. And we couldn't repave the street until we actually dug into the street, replaced the curbing, did the concrete sidewalks. That was a 3-year project that we did in order to redo all of the sidewalks right from the beginning of this very subject property, all the way down to and up to, including where Community V&A is located, in order for us to actually cold plane, put all new signage and stripe the new street. We've also been working our way down Park Street, and we've made it up to the hospital side and to come down the other side towards this area. So when we look at a project, we want to be able to make sure that we're dealing with all the issues ancillary to this neighborhood, particularly if you look, it's the side where the houses are on the left side of the park as you're heading towards Park and Emery. We had already did a sidewalk project as part of the improvements in that neighborhood on Torrey Street and on the back side of Park Street. But this project also incorporates the granite curbing and concrete sidewalks around the site. That was a significant cost. It's almost $100,000 to do that work. It's something that we don't have the capacity to be able to take from Chapter 90 because the needs are so great across the entire city for sidewalk improvements and for roadway construction. So this was a way to be able to still address this as a complete overhaul and accessibility area for this project, that we can be able to address that need. And we were able to reduce that. You can see from the handout that Councilor Cooper gave you this evening, and as you are aware from your last council update, that was able to be withdrawn from the project and actually be paid for from a grant through the investment of reprogrammed income that's coming back into the program that can be used for accessibility. So that saved $95,000 off the cost of the project. And there were other things, of course, I had just mentioned that we cut back on the amount of playground equipment that's located, and remove fencing and some other things to be able to bring the project costs in the budget. But as you shrink the area where the playground was, well, you have more landscaping to put back in that area and more lawn to rejuvenate, so we had to make some other budgetary adjustments. But in the end, I think it's a fantastic project to be able to help rejuvenate a neighborhood, and especially pay homage, how fitting that I'm here after the day after Memorial Day, for Lieutenant Angel, who gave his life in support of our nation, and certainly from our community of Attleboro. So this is a project, similarly that we do with all other projects, that it's important that we create. Doesn't matter if you're from a wealthy section of the city or you're from a section of the city that doesn't have much at all, if you're from an immigrant family. We want to make sure in all of our projects that we do that we're treating every single sector of the city when we embark on a project to the same level. This still allows us to do that with this project, and it's something to be proud of, to be able to say that this is something not only when we memorialize someone and that we create a park. I can't speak to the fact of how, over a long period of time, that this was never, ever fully maintained or brought up to the same standard. But I can tell you that we've been working over the past several years to apply for the necessary grant funding to make this project a reality. When I submitted the project, ironically, we were about the same amount of a local match that we would have been required to under the grant, and that was under $300,000 that we would have had to come up for in-kind cost that we would have had to come up for the project. But this comes back with a substantial reduction, certainly taking $100,000 off the table, and also cutting back on the things that we were looking to do here with this project. But it also includes something else which is really nice. I'm sure all of you are aware or have heard the name Kelly Fox. Kelly is in charge of Christmases for Kids, but she's also with the Interfaith Collaborative, which is also formerly known as the Council of Churches. She has pledged with her support with the organizations to be able to do kind of like what we did, community build, which is really nice. So they expressed that they're help in any way that they can help with the project. So I said, first of all, I'll accept your help. I said, so if the project is awarded and we're able to be able to have this as a reality, I said, you know, there's not a contractor that's coming in anymore to do all of the parts of the project. This is all going to be done internally. So the different parts of the project that normally would be subbed out for construction like we did at the Briggs Playground, we won't have that liberty for this project. And so it'll be the three departments working together on top of our already busy workload, but to be able to make this a priority, to be able to use our resources in-house, to be able to make this a reality, and that was the last portion of the reduction in cost. So I think it'll be nice to be able to have the Interfaith Collaborative work with us, in addition to other community volunteers by planting the trees, helping out with the restoration and rejuvenation of the lawn, planting of the other landscaping. We'll gladly accept the help, and I also think that it's good for community to be involved in projects like this. Certainly we had that project and help with the concession project and bathroom facility at Attleboro High School, which is a complete success, and it also was to be able to garner a lot of support from young and old alike, all ages, to be able to do a community support project. But we have that here as well. Cryan Landscaping has also agreed to be able to sponsor as an adopt a spot. He already has a little area that's a little traffic island that's on Park Street, right as you approach this facility. But he's shown interest to be able to for continued help with that project, which was fantastic. And it's really a nice thing for having the reach out of people after they've seen the discussion on the project and say, hey, listen, you know, I do think it's important, and how can I help? So we've incorporated that into this as well. So for the total that we're looking for now, instead of $298,000, with the request as asked from your honorable body that's being requested now, is down to $74,950, which includes the swing set, the installation of that, the bar that's needed for that area, the flagpole restoration, which is one of our tallest flagpoles in the city, actually. You just can't see it very well now. The reinstallation of that flagpole after it's returned to us, all the stump grinding for the trees, the remaining diseased trees that have to be taken down and to be able to grind them down, the rejuvenation of the turf, the signs, all the required landscaping, the irrigation well and the irrigation system, 4 benches, 2 picnic tables, 2 trash receptacles, and 1 bike rack, the new plaque for the rock that's honoring the lieutenant who passed. And again, I mentioned the fact what did come off the table but is included in the project, not in the project cost, but being paid from the grant, is the granite curbing and concrete sidewalks for accessibility around the entire park.
Thank you.
Do you have this? No, I have. Thank you.
Councilor Jackson.
Thank you. My apologies for being
No problem.
tardy. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Thank you for meeting with me last week and with regards to this, since it does It is in my ward. So we have 3 different city departments that are able to help in-house with
Yes.
this? That's great news.
So the Department of Public Works Highway Division, they'll be overseeing the sectors of this project where the actual granite curbing, concrete work's going to be done, and spearheading that for us, which will be fantastic. They'll also work together as a project team along with the Park and Forestry Division, also the Recreation Department. So all 3 departments will be working in concert together and to be able to share resources in order to be able to make this a reality for us.
Great, I'd like to hear that. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Any other questions? Ms. Hall?
Just a comment. I'm really pleased to hear, because one of the questions I was going to ask was about upkeep. Because once we do and pay this money, it's really important to keep this thing up. And so I want to really give out some kudos to the Cryon Landscaping. That's awesome that they're going to continue to do that, and they do a lot for this city, so I want to say that. And thank you to the Council on Churches. Is it Interfaith Collaborative?
Interfaith Collaborative now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And thank them also for stepping up and asking to help. That's tremendous, and I think everything you said was exactly correct. When there's people working together as a team, plus the community involved, it's a wonderful thing.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Councilor Parika, then
Thank you, Chairperson. Good evening, Mayor. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good, very good. I just have a couple of questions about this. Just, I've had some constituents ask me, just because of the particular location of this park, it's not necessarily like optimal, but it is what it is. So when the DPW and Park and Forestry and Rec, and when you've all gotten together, like, what is your vision for access? If you could just kind of elaborate on the access to the park. People are asking if they'll be parking on Park Street, if we're going to need curb cuts on Park and on the other side, or things like that. So if you could elaborate on that, I would
Sure.
appreciate it.
There was an original project sketch that was part of this. I'm not sure if you folks had this or not. It was
a while ago.
It was, okay.
Got it a long
Because
time.
I know it was part of the original grant application that you folks had approved twice to be able to go into the Commonwealth. And I believe these are all present areas, but of course, all of the new and updated crosswalks that we do, they're painted with the very thick, it's actually 2 sets of white that's done. So most of these, I believe, they're all in existence today. That's something that I will certainly check on and get back to you. But that you can see that they're clearly delineated for access, so whether you're coming from, trying to cross Emery Street to the facility, or whether you're trying to cross from Park Street at the various locations, it provides for more safe crossing, especially because there's going to be all new signage that delineates that there's a crosswalk that's not in existence today. It also has a traffic calming measure that we're adding. So at the intersections you're heading on Park Street, for example, past this facility, heading down towards Angel Park, it's kind of a free-for-all as you approach Torrey Street. And what had been suggested, which was installing a little island here that delineates the traffic and just slows it down. That certainly doesn't impede snow removal operations, but that it actually is a traffic calming measure. And so that's for the actual V, or I should say the Y, which happens right here where Park Street kind of splits on both sides, the back side of the park and the front side of the park. So that's a traffic calming measure that's being installed, just like there's one on the other side. It was suggested that we put one on the front side as well.
Okay. Is there, will there be parking spots? Because I can only imagine that there will be individuals who would potentially drive there.
Yeah.
On the neighborhood side of the.
There's all on-street parking back there now.
Will we paint some? Will we paint them out there? So any parking spots out there, just so that it's specific?
Sure, that's actually a good suggestion.
So my concern is that we'll renovate the park and it'll be beautiful, and people will be like, hey, let's stop here. And then the residents may run into a bit of a concern with maybe some crowded parking on that portion of the road. So
That's actually a really good suggestion. So we could delineate for the proper width of a parking spot. We can actually delineate on that side of the street.
I think that would be helpful, just looking forward. I have the expectation when it's all bright and beautiful and nice and people haven't been there or utilizing it, I expect its majority will be walkers that'll go there. However, inherently, I feel we'd have some traffic that'll be over that way. And
It's great because there's so much frontage here on the backside of the park. So that's something
would it be
that.
possible for us to have another copy of that, just because I know I've misplaced mine?
Yeah, sure.
Or it's actually in the stack of papers this big on my desk at home.
That's not a problem. We'll
Thank
do that
you.
tonight. You got it.
Kenny.
think Peter had. Do you have any other questions, Councilor Baker?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Blair, did you have a question for the mayor?
No, just actually a comment. I'm all in favor of this because I was so heavily involved in the East Side Playground, Briggs Playground, where the neighbors have taken ownership of that. And I can see this happening over there, where they'll use it, they'll take care of it, they'll watch over it. Dennis would tell you if he was up here, the Briggs is the least vandalized. They have the least amount of trouble of all the parks. And that was a neighborhood that was tough. But where they get involved, the neighbors get involved, it becomes a real pleasant situation, and I can see this being the same thing.
Yes.
May I ask a
Sure.
question through the chair to
Sure.
Councilor Blair? Are there cameras at that location?
Excuse me?
Are there cameras at that location, safety cameras at that location?
We have them on one of the poles there, the last pole we put
We don't
up.
have to state what pole, but
Yes, we
they are at the
don't.
facility.
Just a vague
Okay,
yea or
yeah,
nay is
yeah,
all we
yeah.
need.
Yeah, there is, which is nice, but I can remember that East Side Park when the police cruiser was there every half hour, you know, before it was renovated, before the pool was done. It's really heartwarming to see how the neighbors and the residents in that area have taken ownership of it and made it is what it is today. So I vision this as the same thing, on a smaller scale, but the same thing. And they do deserve a park and walking distance. And I think Heather, I think you'll see most of them, as you said, will be walking people who will walk there. And as nice as Briggs is, we haven't had a parking problem over there, so. Okay.
Okay.
Tomorrow my phone's gonna ring. No.
Any other
right.
questions for the mayor? Comments, concerns? Okay.
Yes, I appreciate the feedback, and, you know, Councilor Cooper, thank you for reaching out, and I know that Councilor Jackson had reached out as well. We sat down and had a meeting, and I will continue for our other discussion we had about some filtering. We talked about that, and there's also the additional possibility of an additional sponsor that we talked about too, for general maintenance and upkeep of that area. So there was good fluid discussion back and forth. Councilor Hall had reached out and talked, and Councilor Delicio had reached out as well. Councilor Blair had, so almost all of you. Really, it was good things to be said to say, hey, listen, I really appreciate you listening, and to say, how can something like this still be able to be a reality in the end? And, you know, I did listen to what you folks had to say, and then I'm hopeful that we can get this passed. Specifically, just for my last point, Councilor Cooper, I think it's important to note, assuming that this is passed in the affirmative, we have a very busy summer, especially with Riverfront Park coming online officially in July. The roadway and the park will be done. We will be in concert with you and working with the Robbins family, because this is going to be dedicated after Judy Robbins, our former mayor and former chairman of the Redevelopment Authority. We will be setting forth the proper dedication ceremony and to open up the road and to actually open up the park. But I just ask that you keep that in mind, because we've got a lot of work to do this summer, and that certainly that's going to be coming online as well. That we certainly have a very busy season ahead of us, not just construction-wise for DPW, but also for Park Forestry and Recreation. So I just ask that you also keep that in mind, so the sooner that we could possibly get going on this, placing orders and getting things in process, that would be very, very helpful for those departments involved.
Great, thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Mayor. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
7:07. All in favor?
Aye.
I thank you. We're adjourned 7:07. Thank you.
Thank you. Huh?
So no changes,
Yeah,
it's 79.
Julie posted it, I'm sure, somewhere.
I was looking at,
Sure,
I
somewhere.
think I
Yeah, and yet I will tonight.
No.
I'll be looking forward to it.
Coop, you got one of these?
Yeah, you
The cuteness of those two.
okay.
It's crazy.
That's a no.
It was really, you can so.
Call the special meeting of the Municipal Council for Tuesday, May 30th, 2017 to order. Ask that you please stand and join in a salute to our flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Again, just a reminder, if you have a phone or similar electronic device, if you please mute it, turn it off so it does not interfere with our broadcast of the parts of the city. I would ask, as this is a special meeting, I would ask our city clerk, Mr. Withers, to please read the notice of the special meeting.
April 28, 2017, to the members of the Municipal Council from Frank Cook, President. Councilors, by authority of Article 2, Section 2-7C of the Attleboro Home Rule Charter, I hereby call a special meeting of the Municipal Council as follows. Tuesday, May 30th, 2017, at 7 p.m., place in the council chambers. The purpose is to hold public hearings relative to the fiscal year 18 budgets and associated matters and any other legal matter that may come before the council. CC Mayor Kevin J. Dumas.
Okay, thank you. So again, the purpose of our meeting tonight is to have the public hearings related to the budgets for the coming fiscal year. So, Mr. Withers, at this time, I'd ask you to read the notice for the first public hearing, please.
Certainly. Public hearing relative to the fiscal year 2018 wastewater enterprise budget.
Thank you. On the public hearings this evening, again, we ask that if you're going to be speaking on the matter, that you come to the podium, you give us your name and address for the record, and any comments be directed to the council as a collective body instead of any one individual councilor. I will first ask those who are in favor, then those who are in opposition, and then those either for nor against. So at this time, relative to the wastewater enterprise budget, is there anyone here to speak in favor?
Good evening. My name's Paul Kennedy. My address is 26 Dexter Rock Road, Lincoln, Rhode Island. I'm the acting water department superintendent, and I'm asking that the council approve the wastewater budget this evening as submitted.
Okay. Are there any questions for the speaker? Okay. Thank you for coming in. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of the wastewater budget?
Yes, Honorable Council, Mayor Dumas, and I'm here to speak in favor of the wastewater enterprise budget as submitted in the amount of $9,659,085.63.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions for the mayor? Here we go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of the wastewater enterprise budget? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone speak in opposition? Is there anyone here to speak neither for nor against? Anyone to speak neither for nor against? Hearing none. Councilor Hagney, do you see any need to continue this public hearing open?
I do not,
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you. So again, based on the testimony and the recommendation of the Chair of the Budget Committee, I declare that public hearing closed. We'll go into a reading of the next public hearing, please.
Public hearing relative to the fiscal year 2018 water enterprise budget.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor?
Yes, Paul Kennedy, again, 26 Dexter Rock Road, Lincoln, Rhode Island. I'm the acting superintendent of the water department and the wastewater superintendent. I'm asking the council to approve the water budget as submitted.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Kennedy? Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak in favor?
Hi, Courtney Wunschel, 139 Flint Street, Pawtucket, Rhode Island. The Assistant Superintendent at the Water Department, and I'm here in support of the FY18 water budget.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions for the assistant or acting director? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor?
Yes, good evening again. Mayor Dumas, and I'm here to speak in favor of the proposed fiscal 18 water enterprise budget, $6,858,314.95 as submitted.
Are there any questions for the mayor on this one?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here to speak neither for nor against? Anyone to speak neither for nor against? Hearing none. Again, Councilor Hagney, do you see any need to continue this public hearing open?
No, President Cook, I
Okay,
do
thank you. Again, based on the testimony presented, recommendation of the chair of the Budget Committee, I'm going to declare that public hearing also closed. We're going to a reading for the third and final public hearing for this evening.
Public hearing relative to the fiscal year 2018 budget.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the FY 2018 budget?
Yes, good evening. For the last time this evening, Mayor Dumas, and I'm here to speak in favor of the fiscal 2018 budget as presented in the amount of $127,804,430.35.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the mayor? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of the budget? Anyone else to speak in favor of the budget? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the budget? Anyone to speak in opposition to the budget? Is there anyone here to speak neither for or against the budget? Anyone here to speak neither for or against the budget? Hearing none. Councilor Hagley, do you see any need to continue this public hearing open?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. Again, based on testimony presented and recommendation of the budget chair, we declare that public hearing closed. That concludes the public hearings for this evening. There was no mayor's communication this evening, but there were several other communications, and at this time I would ask Mr. Withers, our clerk, to please read those items, as these are various matters that we need to take care of before this fiscal year is over. Mr. Withers, if you would please.
First one is an application for 2017 Hawkers and Peddlers license and to ring a bell from Paul Piatelli, 80 North Washington Street, North Attleboro, Mass. 02760.
License committee, please. And this is a new application. Vice President Denny, this matter will require a public hearing. Would you like to call for a public hearing on Tuesday, June 20th?
Yes, please.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. That hearing will be on 20th of June. Thank you.
Okay. Second was a letter from Leanne Collins from the Friends of Cape and Park Zoo requesting a public hearing on a waiver to serve alcoholic beverages on city property at the Cape and Park Zoo on October 7th, 2017, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. for their annual fundraising event.
License committee, please. And again, Vice President Denley, this matter requires a public hearing, which I think call for it on the same night of June 20th.
Yes, please.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. That hearing will be on 20th also. Thank you.
Yes, we've received a letter from Gerald F. Chase, 48 Nick Rock Road, Attleboro, Mass., regarding the missing 30-mile-per-hour sign on Oak Hill Avenue that has been missing for months.
Transportation and Traffic Committee, please.
And we received a letter to the Municipal Council from Gary Arazian, Director of Planning and Development, regarding the planned realignment of Angeline Street.
Transportation and Traffic Committee, please.
And a letter from the Planning Board to the Municipal Council regarding the layout, relocation, and alteration of the Angeline Street application. The Planning Board agrees with the Director of Planning and Development, Gary Arazian's recommendation, and defers their recommendation to him.
Transportation and Traffic Committee, please.
Yes, and the last one is revised narrative and Exhibit A for the special permit application addressing the issues raised by Gary Arasian by John F. Kenyon Esquire of BCWC, Inc.
Zoning and Land Use Committee, and a copy to all members, please.
And that is all.
Thank you. On that last item, that should have been put into your, I believe it was put into the mailboxes this afternoon.
Yes.
So that hearing will be, next Tuesday night, it'll be a continuation of, well, we'll open it on May 2nd, but it'll be the continuation of it. So it's a lot of reading in the week ahead. Okay? All right. Okay, we're going to be going on to committee reports. Does anybody need to get any motions to me? Are we all set? Okay. All right, so, and this is a special meeting, I'm not going to go around and ask every committee. I'm only going to be calling those committees that actually have worked pending before us this evening. So this time we're going to start with Councilor Parika.
Thank you, President Cook.
You're welcome.
Reporting for Transportation and Traffic. From the docket of April 4th, 2017, I move that the Municipal Council approve the layout of Angeline Street as shown on sheet number 1 of the plan entitled, quote, Realignment of Angeline Street in the City of Attleboro, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, prepared for Carpianato Properties, LLC, and, quote, prepared by Garofalo Associates Incorporated, dated April 19th, 2017.
Second?
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
There are. Last week, this has been something, obviously, that's been rolling along for a little while. We had a vibrant discussion during our committee meeting last week, where all the counselors that were here weighed in on it. We did receive, in our communications from this evening, the recommendation from Gary Arasian, as well as a letter of support for what his decisions were from the planning board. I did speak with Mr. Hill from DPW. He is also very much in support. This has been vetted thoroughly, and I hope that I have your support for this evening.
Thank you. Are there any other concerns or comments on this matter? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Delicio.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
The motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
And my second motion for this evening, I move to adopt the following ordinance, be it ordained by the Municipal Council of the City of Attleboro that Section 10-5.2A of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro prohibited on certain streets, amended 72315, be amended by adding the following in alphabetical order: Angeline Street, both sides.
Second?
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
Yes, again, we spoke about this at length during our committee meeting last week. The recommendation from the DPW as well as the recommendation from planning was to restrict parking on both sides of Angeline Street. I think that it's important for us to look at this particular area in the broad sense. And I think it's the responsible, to quote Councilor Delicio, it's the responsible thing for us as a city to do. We can always add parking back if it is necessary, but I have the expectation that this will be amenable to everyone that's in that location. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mrs. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
That concludes the business for transportation and traffic for this evening, but if I may, I just want to, Friday night is commencement for Attleboro High School. Lots of us have friends that'll be graduating there tonight. I just want to wish them the best of luck.
Thank you. Let's see.
And a call for committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Councilor Higney.
Thank you. Reporting for budget and appropriations from the docket of June 6th, 2017. I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $32,000 from account Reading Committee undesignated fund balance, free cash, general government, to account treasurer Medicare tax, to pay the med tax for non-school and non-enterprise employees.
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
We talked about it in committee.
Okay. Are there any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Delicio.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hegney.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
From the docket of June 6th, 2017, I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $59,050 from account citywide reserve for compensation 53rd week to accounts as follows. The first one is to account mayor salary, budget and administration salary, auditor salary and wages, collector salary, clerk salary, fire salary, animal control salary, and veterans salary. All read in committee the account numbers in order to provide sufficient funding for the accrued payroll, which historically has been referred to as the 53rd pay week.
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
Yes, thank you. And President Cook, and just to disclose, I had contact with the city auditor. My brother, the police chief, is not included in this. I can vote on this. So if anyone has a question in the future, please ask me directly. I'd be more than happy to answer those questions, and I disclose everything fully. Thank you.
Yeah. Are there any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That is all the business I have for budget appropriations this evening, and call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Okay, thank you. And could you just sign that, by the way?
Yes.
Councilor Reynolds is on here, but Councilor Conde, do you have
Sure.
any of them? Could you handle those motions? And
Pass this to you.
I just need a copy of it.
Already filled it out.
Right.
That's okay, you can have that.
Do you want to read that though?
Oh, yes, I do. I need to read
It's
something.
going one item.
Reporting for city property and claims from the docket of June 6, 2017. I move in accordance with section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the city of Attleboro to approve the mayor's request to accept the donation of gift certificates to Walmart from the American Legion Auxiliary at Post 313 of South Attleboro, totaling $225 in value as donations to the city of Attleboro. Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments?
I believe it speaks for itself, Mr. President.
I have
Okay.
one comment.
Does anybody have any other questions or comments? Councilor Hall, please.
There's a Scrivener error on line 3. Should be post 312, not 313.
Okay. Let's have that as a friendly amendment and correct that
Military precision.
according. Okay, thank you. Are there any other concerns or comments on this matter? Hearing none, we'll have a voice vote on this item. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. President, thank you. That completes the business city property and claims has to bring before the council this evening. We look forward to a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you.
Oh, that's yours.
Okay, let's see, Councilor Cooper.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
From the docket of June 6, 2017, I move in accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12, the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro to approve the mayor's request to expend approximately $19,329 in one care grant funding and any future grant amendments, which will be used to provide partial salary, health benefits, supplies, and materials for the SHINE program. This contract covers dates between April 11th, 2017 and March 30th, 2019, with $4,832 to be used between April 11th, 2017 and June 30th, 2017, and $14,497 to be used between July 1st, 2017 and March 30th, 2018.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
No, we talked about this last week, other than saying what I said last week, and that this is a great program that helps a lot of people. That would conclude my comments.
Okay, thank you. Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Council Delicio.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hegney.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes,
10 yeas, 0 nays.
the motion passes.
Thank you. I
You're welcome.
move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $2,500 from park salary to park professional services to repair one of the 3 stairways within the flats area of Capron Park.
Second?
Thank you, the motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
No, we talked about it last week in committee.
Okay. Are there any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes,
10 yeas, 0 nays.
the motion passes.
Thank you. I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $4,194.38 from park heating to account park supplies equipment to purchase a 200-gallon Lesco tree sprayer to be used to spray the ornamental trees to combat winter moths and gypsy moths.
Second?
Thank you, the motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
No, there are none.
Does anybody have any concerns or comments? Councilor Parika.
They really need this. I brought home like 6 caterpillars with me the other day, and the park can keep them because I don't need them at my house, so
Yeah.
I'm happy to support this.
Okay, thank you. Any other concerns or comments? Okay. Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Delicio.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hegney.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes,
10 yeas, 0 nays.
the motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of April 18th, 2017, I move to approve the mayor's request to appropriate $298,000 from account 845559900 stabilization fund, other financing uses, to account 353549900 Angel Park renovations, other funding sources to rejuvenate Angel Park.
Second?
Thank you, the motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
Before you jump,
Yes,
let me make
hold
my
on.
comment.
What did you want to do?
It's just a different number than what I have.
Right,
understand.
so I wouldn't be dealing with that right now, so. Yes, Council Cooper.
So, as you all recall, there was a $298,000 request made on April 14th, 2017, and we all had, most of us had some comments and/or commentary about whether we thought that was appropriate. They went back to the drawing board and came back with the presentation that they presented this evening, which was, again, different from what's printed before you this evening, so I understand the confusion. It says $79,450, and the documentation the mayor presented this evening and presented to me on the 25th of May was $74,950. So I'd like to make an amendment to change the amount from $298,000 to $74,950 and vote this evening.
Yeah, I'll accept that as a friendly amendment.
Second.
Thank you. So again, the amount is $74,950 to be used to rejuvenate Angel Park.
What was the original number?
The original amount was $298,000 from April 18th.
Thank you.
Right. But when it was voted out of committee, it came out at 79,450, so that's where you have to do it.
No, it actually did not. It came out of committee at $298,000. Yeah, the 70 was a reverse of the
Right.
9 and the 4.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
We talked about this before the
yeah,
meeting, so.
yes.
So again, so the correct amount is $74,950.
That is correct. And that concludes my comments. The mayor was here this evening. We all had an opportunity to ask him questions. And I think it's a good plan to do all the things we wanted to do. Traffic, sidewalks, memorialize, and give a recreation area for the neighborhood.
Thank you.
That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Any other concerns or comments? Council Parika.
Thank you, President Cook.
You're welcome.
So I was one who was not even remotely happy with the first proposal that came through. And truthfully, I struggle a little bit still with rejuvenating the park at this particular point in time. I know that it's necessary. I drive by it 6 or 7 times a day. I will support it. I am going to support it this evening. I'm hopeful that this isn't one of those votes, like there's a couple of votes that we all take that I have come to regret over time, and I'm hopeful that this will be one that'll be like, oh, that was a good one. It's also consistent with how I voted previously. I did vote in the affirmative when we were matching funds through the state, so I try to keep my votes consistent with that regard. So you will have, Councilor Cooper, you have my support tonight, and I look forward to watching this renovation happen. And part of what really kind of put me over the edge on the affirmative of that was what did we call it, Julie? The why doohickey thing over here? Because one of the problems that I have as traffic and transportation chair is that I get a lot of phone calls about vehicles driving in the wrong direction on Park Street, and they come from that direction. And I think that with increased the potential for increased participation at the park, that would actually escalate. So I have concerns about that. But hopefully the traffic calming device that's being implemented here might dissuade people from deciding to drive up Park Street instead of down Park Street. So you do have my support tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilor Hall, and then Vice President Denley. Councilor Hall.
I want to commend Councilor Cooper on the effort that he did. It's really, really good when I think almost every one of us looked at that 298,000 and went, are you kidding me? And you didn't leave it at that. You went the extra mile and tried to work out something that was a nice compromise, and I like a compromise that works for people. So I want to thank you for all your work that you did. I think it's a super looking thing, so thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Vice President Denley.
Thank you, President Cook.
You're welcome.
I still have concerns about the funding coming from the stabilization account. When we took these votes before, it was because the state was matching us $200,000. And we had to dip into the stabilization account because by paying $200,000, we would get $400,000 worth of benefits. I also have concerns just about the location of the park. I guess you can't change it now, but it's in the middle of a fairly populated roadway. And I have concerns about safety usage. I think that we might see some domino effects when it comes to traffic and when it comes to parking. So I too hope this is not a vote I will regret, but I will be voting against this tonight.
Thank you. Councilor Conti.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. I will not be supporting this vote, and I cannot support this vote. I think it's very commendable that we've gone from $298,000 down to $75,000 because of the thinking outside the box of getting departments to do the work. Once you get rid of that prevailing wage, it's amazing what can be done in this city at an affordable price. During the deliberations, I did enjoy Maggie Parika's comments about turning this into a community garden, and I thought that was really brilliant. And that is something that I think is still valid and that I would support. But listening to the reasons why you're going to vote this through tonight, and I know you are, it's all an emotional appeal. It's a gateway to downtown. It's a granite curbing project that's going to save the streetway. It's respect to Lieutenant Angel. The fact that it's executed internally is more of an emotional appeal. And that others in the Interfaith Collaborative and Crime Landscaping stepping up to help us out is an additional emotional appeal. But the emotional appeal is invalid. The emotional appeal is invalid because the money is coming out of an emergency fund that is already underfunded. It's the highest it's been in my history on the council at over $3 million, but it should be $5 million. And we're taking $75,000 out to do a park, which is $10,000 less than the park that was built, the improvement, it was built in South Attleboro Veterans Memorial Pavilion with that beautiful pavilion that we're all standing at on Sunday. That pavilion, of which I was the chairman of the fundraising committee when they raised it, I'm not taking credit for it because it wasn't just me, it was a big group of people and some very generous people. And it was people, ordinary people, who were doing extraordinary things to make that pavilion become a reality. But that pavilion cost $10,000 more than what we're looking at here. And this thing being broken down into little bites of $3,800 for a swing set and $3,000 for the swing set installation and $2,800 for the engineered wood fiber, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, indicates to me that this should be privatized. This should not be coming out of emergency money. This should be a city community get together and fix the park project, not dollars from our emergency fund. That's for blizzards, and that's for hurricanes and tornadoes if we ever have one in Attleboro. This is exactly the type of project that would bring the community together if it was privatized. I can't support this because it's coming out of the stabilization fund. If it was coming out of free cash, you might have me a little bit more sympathetic, but it's still an invalid emotional appeal. That park has been sitting there like that park for a long time. And the last time it saw any attention, it was a privatized effort. So I'm sorry that I have to stand hard against this project, because I'm sure there's some in the east side who would love to see it done. Who wouldn't love to see it done? Although I have heard of one neighbor who's not too happy that it's going to become a playground. I will conclude my comment in saying that I think I'm a voice of reason by saying this should not come out of emergency money to do a park that could be done privately by citizens. Even though we go to the well a lot, I think it's better done not using emergency dollars, and that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Councilor Hagney.
Thank you very much. During the discussion, we did have the veterans aspect of this come in, and I had been contacted by the Angel family. They were very happy. I was also contacted by a lot of the low-income housing right associated near this park also. I had been conflicted, and I don't usually agree all the time. Sometimes we do it with Council Parika, and I know she lives right around the corner also. And I also want to thank Councilor Cooper for bringing it down. I'm conflicted, still going back and forth. And as I said during committee, I'm not going to make an emotional vote on this. So I'm still a little conflicted. But I want to say thank you to Mr. Cooper.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, this matter will be a roll call vote. The vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
No.
Vice President Denley.
No.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
No.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Delisio.
No.
President Cook.
Yes.
6 yeas, 4 nays.
Motion passes. Okay, anything else, Mr. Cooper?
No. Call for a committee meeting next week at the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Jackson.
Thank you, President Cook.
You're welcome.
Reporting for Public Works this evening from the docket of June 6, 2017. I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $1,438 from the Water Enterprise Fund High Lift Valve account to the Water Enterprise Fund Boiler Repair account in additional funds needed to install a new burner for a boiler at the West Street Water Treatment Plant. Although a vote was taken on February 21st, 2017 for an appropriation of $13,000, the lowest bid came in at $13,438.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
Just one, we did discuss this last week in committee, and this is basically going to give them back heat down at the water department.
Okay. Thank you. Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote beginning with Councilor Delisio.
Mr. Delisio.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
The motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of June 6, 2017, I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $7,500 from the Water Enterprise Fund Reserve Fund for transfer account to the Water Enterprise Fund Professional Services account to have an outside contractor replace worn-out hydrant gate nuts throughout the city.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Any comments, please?
Yes, I'd like to offer up an amendment so that I change the word hydrant to read valve. So it'll be valve gate nuts. So the only word I'm changing in here is valve. Do I have a second?
Yeah, no, I'll just accept it as a friendly amendment. So that'll read, replace worn-out
Contractor
gate
replace worn-out
valve,
gate.
gate valve nuts throughout the city.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Again, that'll be accepted as a friendly amendment. Any other comments?
Yes, please. Mr. Blair had asked a question to me last week through committee, asking why we weren't having the city employees replace these valves, and I did get an answer for you. First of all, in discussions during their budget discussions, the water department staff had discussed doing the replacing of the gate nut valves and also the hydrant nut valves. And mistakenly, he requested in his original memo to us to have hydrant gates, but they actually wanted valve gates first. And that still would be the same cost, and it would still be done by an outside company, because if the water department did the work to replace these nuts, it required excavating around the valve to access the valve nuts, and they're below ground, which is costly and time-consuming, and it would involve a crew of 4 men, police officers, and detours, et cetera, like that. By hiring Hydrotech to do the work they have a special machine, so they go in above, and they do it that way, and they don't need any police details, they just go in and do it. So it's saving them a lot of money.
Well, if I may,
Please.
if it had come in as valves and not hydrants, I was misled by the turn off and on top, and that's all I asked.
And I got an answer, and I got educated.
Thank you.
Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Delissio.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of June 6, 2017, I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $7,875 from Water Enterprise Fund Reserve Fund for Transfer account to the Water Enterprise Fund Professional Service account to clean the vents, ductwork, and treat for microbial contamination at the West Street Water Treatment Plant.
Second?
Thank you. The motion's in order. Are there any comments?
Thank you.
Please.
Yes. They do this, they try and do this every 4 years because they have so many chemicals in the building and they need to get the vents and the ductwork cleaned out so that people can breathe healthy.
Okay, thank you. Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Delissio.
Mr. Delissio.
Yes.
Ms. Hull.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes,
10 yeas, 0 nays.
the motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of June 6, 2017, I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $75,000 from Wastewater Enterprise Fund Chemicals to the Wastewater Enterprise Fund Other Financing Uses, and to further transfer $75,000 from Wastewater Enterprise Fund Other Financing Uses to fund filter press improvements, other financing sources, to make hydraulic repairs to the filter presses at the wastewater treatment plant, due to the fact that the extent of the repairs is unknown until both units are disassembled, and the quote solicited includes a Part A and a Part B, and also includes a 12% contingency.
Second?
Thank you. The motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
We discussed this last week in committee.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Delissio.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes,
10 yeas, 0 nays.
motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of June 6, 2017, I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $19,116.65 from the Nitrogen Pilot Plant Other Financing Uses account to the Wastewater Enterprise Fund Other Financing Sources. This transaction will close the Nitrogen Pilot Plant Fund, since this project has been completed, and will increase equity in the Wastewater Enterprise Fund.
Second?
Thank you.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Are there any comments?
Yep, it's so nice when I get to put money back in, since I just took a whole bunch out.
Thank you. Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Delissio.
Mr. Delissio.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes,
10 yeas, 0 nays.
motion passes.
Thank you. From the
You're
docket
welcome.
of June 6, 2017, I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $21,000 from the Water Enterprise Fund Reserve 53rd Week to the Water Enterprise Fund salary account in order to provide sufficient funding for Water Department salaries for the remainder of fiscal year 2017.
Second?
Thank you. The motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
No, this motion speaks for itself. We've all
Okay.
been doing them in our committees.
Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote beginning with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Mrs. Hegney.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
From the docket of June 6, 2017, I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $7,000 from the Water Enterprise Fund Reserve 53rd week to the Water Enterprise Fund overtime to provide sufficient funding for overtime at the Water Department for the remainder of fiscal year 2017.
Second?
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please? Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote beginning with Councilor Delicio.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hegney.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of June 6, 2017, I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $943.20 from the 10 Mile River Sewer Crossing Other Financing Uses account to the Wastewater Enterprise Fund Other Financing Sources account. This transaction will close the 10 Mile River Sewer Crossing Fund since this project has been completed and will increase the equity in the Wastewater Enterprise Fund.
Second?
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments,
None.
please?
Thank you.
Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote beginning with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Mrs. Hegney.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
The motion passes.
Thank you. I have no further business this evening, Mr. President, but I would like to call for a committee meeting at the appropriate time next week.
Thank you. Councilor Blair.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reporting for Public
Sure.
Safety and Emergency Management from the docket of June 6, 2017. I move in accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro to approve the mayor's request to expend Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, EOPSS, Bulletproof Vest Partnership Program funds, and any future grant amendments. This program enables the purchase of body armor for police officers, whereas 50% of the cost is reimbursed by the U.S. Department of Justice, and the other 50% is reimbursed by Massachusetts EOPSS. The Massachusetts EOPSS aspect of the program is controlled by a 5-year contract. This contract covers purchases made between March 1st, 2017 and February 28, 2022. The Bulletproof Vest Partnership follows a reimbursement protocol, and there is no match required by the City of Attleboro.
Second?
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
No, sir, we discussed it in committee last week.
Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote beginning with Councilor Delicio.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Conti. Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of June 6, 2017, I move to approve the mayor's request that the municipal council rescind vote 9 of the May 2nd, 2017, which provided approval for an addition of a fire department module to the current CAD system in the amount of $47,800, as the city is no longer pursuing this specific item.
Second?
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
We had the chief back in last week, accompanied by the assistant fire chief, to explain that this is a better unit, as you'll see my next motion, $800 less money. It's more plausible to use this, it fits better into the system. Not only it's $800 cheaper, but it's going to work better. And that was through some diligent investigation by both chiefs. I highly recommend it.
Okay, thank you. Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote beginning with Councilor Blair, and if this is since we're rescinding a previous vote, this needs a 2/3 vote of the full council for passage.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Egney?
Yes.
Vice President Denley?
Yes.
Mrs. Parika?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
President Cook?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
You're
On the
welcome.
docket of June 6, 2017, I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $47,000 from account 112410000-578360, citywide reserve compensation 53rd week, to account 121010000-585050, police software, to replace the computer-aided dispatch CAD system software currently in use with a new system.
Second?
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
I think the last motion sort of covered it.
Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote beginning with Councilor Delissio.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mrs. Parika?
Yes.
Vice President Denley?
Yes.
Ms. Egney?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cook?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no other business this evening. We look forward to a committee meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you. That concludes all of the business before the council for the special meeting for this evening. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We're adjourned at 8 o'clock. Thank you very much. Thank you for this.
Frank, I put a couple minutes aside so we can speak.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't get
I didn't want to cut you off this morning. I
No,
had
no,
to
that's
drop my